Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
And yeehaw. Dave with the Southern Fried Podcast. Not talk, late night. Sometimes I do that. We hope someone is up and still out there milling around across the globe. Different time zones. It may be early for you, it may be late, or it may be in the middle of the night, or the middle of the day. We're glad you're here. Late night. Well, I've been busy today. Been doing some different weird hours at work. We had some things to do at night, so I came back, and it takes me a while to wind down. And sometimes I like to do a late night show and think of those night talk shows and late at night. When I was a kid, they had shows all the way up to about midnight, and then you didn't have anything else. You got the blank screen, and then you didn't have anything till about 6 or 6:30 the next morning. So I think about those, and so it's amazing the times we live, the 24/7 ability to broadcast. There's always something on somewhere. You can't watch it all. There's always someone out there who would like to, maybe they're just bored or whatever. They want to look at something. When I did a lot of security, it was always great to for those late night. A lot of times in those, it's only been about a year ago. I was doing some night guarding, and it was great. The YouTubers would be up talking all sorts of stuff late into the night, sometimes almost till I got off work. But they kept me awake and kept me going as I listened to those programs. So sometimes I feel like I'm doing that and helping you along, maybe. I don't know. But I hope you've had a good day. We're right in the middle of the early voting, and things are going strong. My sister said that her and her husband went and voted today, and they live in Nevada, as we say, and they're getting it done. I read today that President Trump is going to early vote. Been a lot of discussion about that. A lot of people think you should vote day of. Some say vote early. I don't know. Too much for me to figure out, but I do know that I wanted to vote, and I wanted to vote early because I'll be working election day at the precinct. And although I could vote then, I'm probably going to be so busy that it would be take time away from other things that I'm doing. So I decided to go ahead and vote and just be done with that. So hopefully you've done that. Went with my oldest son yesterday. He voted for the first time. That was a big thrill. We just talked about that. He said I put him on blast because I made a video, but he's wanting to see that video. So I hope that I think he enjoyed that. I know it meant a lot to him. He wasn't against voting. I think he's just against jury duty. But so those things happen. But when we're getting in the heart of it, things are heating up, and there are a lot of weird things going on, like the supposedly the quarter pounder today, and some McDonald's have been determined to have an outbreak of E. coli or something like that. That's what I read, and someone said, "Well, here we go." I don't know, but um, breaking news: Biden calls for Trump to be jailed for 14 days before the 2024 election. Sure, buddy. Sure. So what are we going to do? We're going to take him by force? I mean, you're calling for it. Boy, you're talking about chaos in the country. We got to lock him up. Wow. I haven't seen this till I just turned it on. If you've been in the news, you've already seen it. I was at work. So this is the New York Post. He said, if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. He said during a visit to the Democratic campaign office in New Hampshire. Yeah, you see where that gets you. Boy, that would be interesting. I heard today that President Trump said he was going to cancel out taxes. Already said tips, but I heard overtime. and a couple other things. So, we're in the silly season. There are a lot of promises made. We'll see what happens. But fighting for votes and seeing where they can get with to get those independents, the undecideds, even people within their own party. Um, it's going to get um, interesting the closer we get to election day, and it's not that far away. I mean, just a couple of weeks from election day, so it's really down to the nitty gritty, as they say. And I hope that there's peace. I think I'm like anybody else. No one wants to see you know cities in chaos. People fighting in the streets, burning things, or anything like that. We need peace. We need cooler heads to prevail. We need good security. We need community leaders to be, working within their communities from all backgrounds and sides of the aisle. And we do not need problems in these United States. We've had enough already. We don't need any more. And I would hope that that would not be the case. Um, so I don't know, but that is not good. And so but the news is going to intensify every day. It just gets like that. It's going to be on. I always wonder if there's, some party has held something back and they drop it, at the last minute where there's no time to. But by that time, a lot of people are going to vote it anyway. So I don't know. Sometimes, these marketing groups that work with elections and people that work on getting them elected. Sometimes they're geniuses, and sometimes I think they're buffoons because I think they missed the boat. They missed the party to get some things right on time and really have effectiveness. And so if you come out too early, they may have time to pivot. But if you come out too late, it's not effective. But sometimes they just miss really good opportunities to be in the news. I think President Trump has done a really good job of that. For the most part, I think they missed a couple of opportunities, but his showing up at small businesses and working at McDonald's and using that as a catchphrase, that he's worked there longer than Kamala. Genius. I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, it's not that hard to call that, but to actually go and do it, I think is a smart move. But how much that changes elections, I don't know. I think most people are set. I have not run into one person in my inner circle of friends and acquaintances. I've met no one that says I don't know what I'm going to do. There's different things they say about who they're voting for and why, and sometimes they're agonizing over that. But they say, no, I'm settled. I've not met anybody that's an undecided. I'm not saying they're not around me. I've just not seen them. I've not. Uh, I've not had anybody say that. And everybody that went to the election, they are, and I'm sure it's from both sides. I stood outside a precinct waiting on my son. Very conservative area, but there's also um, those on the liberal side. You don't know who anybody's voting for, and it's none of our business. They go in, and but everybody was resolute. Um, just vote. So, the numbers have continued to climb. But yeah, there's one dead and 10 hospitalized. This E. coli outbreak linked to this. But again, that's sad that happened. But it's in Colorado. 49 people have been infected. Um, it could have been anything, so they just need to figure that out. That's unfortunate, but it's the kind of thing that could kill your business for a while. Obviously, I mean, people would be afraid. But I really think that unless it started spreading across the nation, I don't think it'll impact business too much. They'll try to make something of it, but they did say they proactively removed the slivered onions and beef patties used for the quarter pounder from stores in the affected states while the investigation continues. So um, let's see if we can look into this just a little bit deeper. Again, a New York Post, giving credit to those news sources. I like to move around to different ones. By the way, on Sunday night we were busy setting up some new things for the podcast, and it got late, and I missed my political show, the SFP News Desk, Christian and Conservative News. That it will be made up. We will not miss that. There's too much going on, and that will be Thursday night. I do have an interview or something to sit through Thursday afternoon. and I may do another program as well, but that show that's an off night for us generally, unless I come on. And that's a night that I play catch up a little bit if we miss something. And I will do that because there's a lot of news that I wanted to get into, and it's still relative to the discussion. So, and more news is coming every day. So look for that. Wednesday night, we do have two guests coming this week, and I'm excited about that. Our Hump Day News, we're going to have Three Ravens Publishing on, and specifically talking about, he's a publisher of sci-fi books and different kinds of books, and they have a trailer park series that is written by many different folks, and I think he writes as well. And we met him at the Greenhouse Festival, and he's going to come on live with us. It's not recorded. I think this is the first time we've done an interview live. We've always recorded those. He was okay with it, and we're excited about it. We wanted to move that way anyway. We were just trying to make sure we were careful with those. And as we first started into them, we're just at the point now we're just going to schedule our guests, except for if they request it to be recorded, we'll do that. We'll just start having them be in our lives. And we will maneuver around that depending on how long they give us, and we hope they'll give us quite a bit of time. But this trailer park series, they've got a new book coming out. I'm going to put a card together before I go to bed tonight or first thing tomorrow, because he'll be on with us tomorrow night on Hump Day News. That comes on at 7 o'clock. Don't forget in the morning at 6 a.m., my morning show, midweek, and then Hump Day News that night. Plus all the other things that are coming out, the MAGA Minute, morning devotion. Rob did a MAGA minute as well for Wednesday. I just did one. So you get 2 minutes or thereabouts. Fundies are supposed to be coming back. We've just tried to get hooked up. I'm hoping tomorrow we can get those done and get the morning funnies. We haven't done those in a bit, and we need to get back to those. Those are very popular. I want to say appreciate, and then I want to talk about another guest that's coming. I want to appreciate all the new followers on Facebook. We have had over about 60, somewhere in there, additions. Many more on X and also TikTok. Thank you. And all programming doesn't go on TikTok, but we do put a lot of our shorter recordings live and recorded. Most of it live and then pushed over if we can't do it straight. Yet, one day, we'll do lives there. But, you got to build things. But yeah, a lot of new followers on those, and many of the others are seeing some growth as well. And our marketing, we're now affiliated with Dubby and Energy Drink, and we will be pushing that more and more. And I'm excited about it. It's supposed to have it's no sugar, which is great for me in my condition, and they say it will make you a little sharper, attentive. Rob says I need that. But just let me pop up for a second. Our support, our affiliates, Mammoth Nation, great company, and Dubby. And use the Southern Fried code for the Dubby and Mammoth Nation. You check that QR code and sign up. You got as cheap as $5 a month. American-made products, veteran-supported. Just a great company. Go check them out. And then 2 ways to support us by donations, PayPal and Venmo. You'll be seeing more about that. We have another one. I haven't heard back from them yet that we're working on. And then many, many more things in the future. That will be our store, obviously, at Spread Shop, and we show that address all the time. You can get shirt, hats, things like that. In fact, I'm wearing one of the hats tonight. Advertised a little bit. People saw that and said, SFP, Southern Fried, what's that? Podcast. Oh, okay. More and more people are seeing those, and everybody finds something. I mean, some people just like them for the funnies, or they might, of course, they're going back and looking at all the older ones we have, because we have quite a few out there, or they may like the lives, or they may like the short videos we do, MAGA Minute or something like that. And some just like the faith-based, the Sunday morning in the Word or the morning devotion. We've had a tremendous explosion of the work we've been doing to support small business and amplify what they're doing. In fact, we're going to be doing a road trip to go try some fried chicken at a Piggly Wiggly, and I appreciate the invite. And I'm hoping to put that together in just the next few days. I'm going to let them know when's a good time to come, because I definitely want to meet the person that's got this home recipe that they do their fried chicken in. And we've been asked to come do that and highlight that. And I said, well, all right, we're going to do a road trip. I'm excited about it. Got some people lined up to go already. That's cool. Yeah, you can buy the hats absolutely at our store. Appreciate you being back in here, Sam. And yes, we do have the hats. We've got 250 different items on there. There's a handful of them I got to go in there and redo the logo on. They got kind of off center, but you can do that. And I'll tell you what, I'll probably drive those listening crazy, but it's okay. But this short commercial has the address on it, so I'm going to play that since you've asked. So we'll be right back.
The Southern Fried Podcast now has its own store. Go to sfplive.com/store. These links are also found on Facebook and X and some of the other social streams. You will find shirts and hats and mugs and bags and all kinds of items with many different designs. These are just but a few of the more than 250 items that we have with different designs. We hope you'll come and shop, support the podcast. Every dollar that is paid will go towards keeping the podcast growing, and we thank you for your support. sfplive.com/store. Go shop today and get that favorite person in your life their Southern Fried Podcast item, and it'll help us advertise the podcast as you wear these things or take these things out into the public. We thank you for your support. If you have any questions, email us at southernfriedpodcast@yahoo.com. We'll be glad to answer. We're running some specials as well, 20, 25, and even 30% off in some cases. This will eliminate the mailing charges for sure. So go to sfplive.com/store for your Southern Fried Podcast items today. Remember, Christmas is just around the corner. Thank you.
And thank you for asking, Sam. Yes, so check that out. And if you have any questions, just email us. This is our online store. We'll be linking all these things together very, very soon. And we will have a website soon that will have everything that we do. All of our links to all of our socials and everything will be on there. Sorry, my coffee maker is brewing me a quick cup of coffee. I shouldn't drink it this late, but I'm going to because I can. And we appreciate it. We have talked wrestling because my co-host is a former wrestler, and of course you as well. And I talked to him about that, and he was talking about people he could get in touch with. I was all for it. In fact, I was the one that brought it up because I think it would be a hoot, because I'd never wrestled, but I go all the way back to my grandfather died in 1970, and at 5 years old, I can remember watching wrestling with him on Sunday afternoon. He was a Baptist pastor like myself, and he loved it. And I can't remember who his favorite wrestler was, but so I was really close to it at that time. And yes, all of you, we want to do that. And I tell you what, we'll have to figure out what's the best night. That's probably good for a Friday front porch if we can do it. If not, we can do it any night. We can alter a show or create one and make that happen. So I'm all on board. Absolutely want to do it. I want to talk about. I want it to be a twofold kind of thing, or maybe even a threefold. And what I mean by that is, and it'll probably be more than one program. Honestly, it's like our paranormal series. We're kind of getting into that. That's kind of what we're doing this week. We have 3 Ravens Publishing, and then Friday night we've got a cryptid hunter. Yes, a Bigfoot hunter coming on, local to the area, on our front porch. But I had said, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, I think it was maybe 2.5 weeks ago, we ought to do that. I said, you got the background, I've got a background with knowledge about it, and I think it'd be a hoot. But and the threefold would be this: one, y'all's story. We've talked about that a little bit, but have you talk about your journey into that, how you got into it. Just those stories are great. But also, the overall national those superstars that made it just explode, especially in the '80s, Hulkamania and all that stuff, and so you have that. But then to talk about some of uh, the other aspects of wrestling that it doesn't always get covered, as such as things that people don't always see, and that could be just we could talk about the announcers who really help sell that product as well. It could be just that thing in front of the camera. That's a whole nother aspect. It's not just the wrestling. It's I'm gonna rip his neck out, and that those were fun. But then also things that they did by community wise. Some of the quirks, personalities, things they did. Tojo Yamamoto taking his wooden shoe off and cracking people over the head. But uh, yes, we do cover that, and I do that with sports, and I do that at different times. And this week will probably be Thursday night, as well as I'm going to do the political show. I'm going to do sports, and we cover, or I cover, and if whoever comes on, it's usually me, but sometimes I have guests. You're always welcome to come up, but we cover college and pro, absolutely. We'll go over the scores. We'll talk about the games. We'll look into the next week, and there were great games this past week. Obviously, we're going to talk about those and looking into this week, and absolutely. And I'll talk any sports to a degree, but those are my favorite. Football's my favorite, so I'll talk baseball, a little bit of basketball, NASCAR, anything. Sports is sports, but I do love football. But yeah, it is a team effort. To be on wrestling and to make a great product. I mean, it's like anything else. You've got to market it. You've got to have everybody's got to have their little stick. Everybody's got to have their their little thing that people know them by. Uh, People know them by their clothes they wear, something they say, a move they make in the ring. And that's marketing. I mean, I will tell you this, and I was mentioning the other night that I guarded. Um, it was just a one-off thing. Somebody said, "Hey, could you help us out?" And I didn't even really work for this company anymore. I was just I did as a favor. I was actually working for another company, and they said, "Would you help us? We've got this. We just don't have enough guards. You've got a license. You work for us, and we'll pay you a better amount than you'd normally get because we need help." Is at the UTC Arena or McKenzie Arena as it's known now, and I mean, I see all these wrestlers coming in, but that's not the point. Which I did talk about the Big Show being there. I mean, he is big, but there was this guy that showed up. He was a fan, and I swear I've seen this guy before somewhere, but he was dressed as a referee. And I thought, well, okay, I get it. He's coming to the show. He's going to be recognized. He's trying to get attention. And I was trying to, figure him out, Well, anyway, when the wrestlers started coming in, some of them recognized him. I guess this guy shows up in a lot of stuff. And so I thought, well, it worked. He's getting recognized. But he said, hey, if you need a referee tonight, don't forget about me. I'm available. And they're like, yeah, okay. They gave him that look like, okay, yeah, we're not going to call you. But I think he was just really infatuated with that part of it, wanted to be a bigger part. But he did get recognized. But I think he really thought if he wore that outfit, he would get to come in and help referee one of the matches. But I took it by the look in the faces that was not going to happen. They already had their people, and he weren't going to be one of them. But it's just one of those things. You meet eclectic people when you go to big events, whether it's wrestling, football, any kind of big event. There's always going to be that guy. It's like the Denver Broncos. Remember the guy that used to wear the barrel with the suspenders on, not much else. You have people that paint their faces and their bodies, and people that, I mean, look at the New Orleans Saints. People get all decked out and all kinds of stuff, and they're all looking to get recognized. I saw the rock group Kiss at a surprise show in. I want to turn this back up just a little bit. No lie. I went. It was a surprise tour before it was the show before the big show, and I was in Atlanta, and there was a guy that come out, and he looked just like he had made his outfit on his own. I talked to the guy. He was a dead ringer for Gene Simmons, circa 1977 Destroyer tour. And he was walking around outside, and people were driving up down the road, and they had to be thinking, I mean, Gene by now has gotten older. He's put on weight. I mean, he was super thin. He's tall anyway. And he was walking around with all the makeup on and everything. He had that outfit on, the wings and all, spread his arms out. And there were people driving down the road that thought they were really seeing Gene Simmons. They were getting out, taking pictures with him and getting his autograph and stuff. This guy was just a fan. And so he went in the show. I saw Gene pointing at a guy, like he pointed, like gave him the thumbs up. It was that guy. He looked up and saw him, and he was impressed. And I imagine they see stuff like that in different places they go. But yeah. Let's see. You say here, let me get this up. I can see it better. Got to have Bristol Pez Watley as a manager. Okay, in Rossville is an honor. He's from Chattanooga Wrestling all over the world. Definitely, we'll make that. I'll get the ball rolling with Robert, and he'll be glad to. A lot of times we both call people to book stuff, but in this, it's really his corner and his forte. And during the day, I'll be working, and he's got the mornings a lot of times to make phone calls like that. So he does a lot of bookings. But this week is weird. I made 2 bookings. Last week he made 2 bookings, so we kind of split that up. But yeah, we'll get. I think it's a good idea. I'm glad you brought it up because I want to revisit that, and I think it would be a hoot. I mean, like I said, I don't know enough, like I should, I guess, if you say, but I know enough. I mean, I can talk the lingo, and I know a lot of the characters. There's some of them I don't know because I wasn't as close to it. I got away from it after a time. But I'm also a news hound, so I read a lot, and I stay connected to a lot of stuff. I have all this weird, endless information that's buried within my brain cells. It's just a matter of can I get it out. But this area was well known for, which I'm sure a lot of areas were, but Chattanooga was a bastion for wrestling. And I'm sure that was driven largely by Harry Thornton, who did so much for local wrestling. I mean, you have to give the guy credit. And I'm sure there are others. I don't want to leave anybody out, but that guy was a legend himself. And I thank you for that. That's very kind to say, and I feel the genuineness of it. We have a lot of people say that, and when we went into this, I thought, man, I'm going to look like an idiot. I've done radio and podcasts, but behind the scenes, never video. And but it's been a hoot. It's been a blast, and it's really just turned into now. It's like this machine that we just keep feeding it, and it gets better and better and grows. And you've kind of arrived and you start to get attacked, and we do that. But I appreciate you saying that. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of podcasts. I think we found a good niche, because you have to you got to do something you like. If you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to be good at it, and you're not going to enjoy it, and it's going to die. We wanted to do something that meant a lot to us, whether anybody watched. That was really what we said at the beginning. We can't go into it really preparing ourselves not to get our feelings hurt or anything. If not anybody watched, we said, you know what? We're going to do it if nobody watches. And if we said if we can kind of touch one person, it would be well worth the journey. I said, that's the only way we can go forward with this. And that was it. And then what happened is you just get started in something, the creative juices get going, and you're like, wow, okay, now let's do this and do that, and let's try this. And we stumbled a little bit, trying to find our way a little bit. And I have found that I don't know, it's just something that's, it fits me. My family is so used to me. Like I come in late from work and they're all like, are you going to get on tonight? And I said, yeah, I'm a little tired, but I think I will. I like doing a late night show. It's just expected. It's a part of who I am and what I'm doing. I'm sure that Rob would say the same thing. And we're not for everybody. No, we're not going to. Some people would go by and they probably pop in and go, man, what a bunch of losers. But it's okay. We're not for everybody. But I do think we have a niche, and I think that we have I think the name is perfect. That just came about through me and Rob talking, and I think our logo is outstanding. And I'm not trying to pat anybody, myself included, on the back. Chris Gomez gets a lot of credit for that logo. In fact, he gets all the credit. Just all we did was sign off on it. But if you go out and you look at logos on even companies and stuff, some of them, I'm amazed at the money some of them spent on their logo, and they don't stand out. ours stands out. It gets noticed. And I just put this to the test all the time. I go into lives on different streams just as to learn. I go in to see what people are talking about, all different kinds of backgrounds. I do this a lot on Clapper, and I've done it on others as well. I end up getting called up because they see the logo and they'll go, SFP, what's that? Oh, Southern Fried Podcast. Hey, how you doing? So they either call us Southern or Southern Fried. And once we meet and talk, then they'll say, hey, you're good people. You're always welcome here. And I've encouraged Robert to do that as well. That doesn't mean we don't have things we're working on and want to get better at. Certainly, I think you got to keep growing. Our studio facilities are going to change a whole lot in the new year, and just keep putting money back into equipment stuff. But we came a long way. But you're nice to say that. I mean, it's and I know that you know Robert, and I've known him for over 30 years. We kind of lost track of each other for a while. I mean, we generally kept in touch always. I mean, he was in Alabama for a while. We generally kept in touch. We just get busy with life. But over a year ago, when he had to have that heart surgery, that's really when we reconnected in a very hard way, almost daily, and then it became daily. And that daily interaction of leaving each other messages and talking to each other led to us talking about, and he actually was the one that brought it up. And when it came out of his mouth, I was like, I don't know. I was thinking in my mind, I don't know. But I don't believe in, killing anybody's dreams. And I was thinking, well, I'll give it a try, because if he's that passionate about it, and there is that part of me that was like, okay, maybe, I don't know. And, he had went through a lot, and I wanted to help him. And, but as we started talking, then it just became, wow, this is pretty cool. And we're a lot little kids, and we get amazed at stuff. And I can remember the very early days of the podcast. We picked up one viewer or follower on Facebook. I mean, we were giddy as kids, here we are. For me, I'll be 60 next year. And I'm thinking, I don't know if this is normal or not, but I don't care. I'm living life and having fun and meeting people. And I may have never met you through, if it wasn't for this, even though we have a common friend. So, again, if we can entertain you for a little while in something, that's great. Because like I said, I have watched people, a lot of podcasts I've really gotten into. I still follow podcasts. I try to find the time to watch all of the ones that I like. And I'm thinking, this is so cool what you do. And I find myself, knowing when they're coming on, and I don't want to miss them. And I'll go back later and try to catch the ones I missed when I can. Now that I'm so busy with my own, it's even harder. But I still listen, and I still watch podcasts. It's a great medium, and we're really. I just think that there's a very high ceiling. I think that we have established ourselves with the right people, and that's continuing to happen. That we're getting legitimacy in different things. Because one thing I didn't want to be was to be a cartoon. I did want to be that. That's why I was really careful when Robert suggested the Morning Funnies. I was like, I'm not sure on that, but I rolled with it. It was a little bit cringy for me the first few, because I found in my ministry, it's so hard. You can offend people so fast. I mean, we're clean humor, but still humor can be offensive if you're not careful. And I didn't need that, because I do represent my Lord, and I represent my church and my family. And so, but we're a perfect balance. And once we got into it, we started getting a lot of comments and said, you guys just make us laugh, whether it's a Morning Funny or not. And that was the second thing we said was, look, we got to have fun. You got to laugh. People are going to tune in if there's not some laughter. So we want to have, we're going to be silly, but we're going to be serious too. And to laugh. And if we can, I go back. So for me, Rob's got different outlooks because we have different experiences. So it's really easy to tell where I'm coming from when you see some of the things we do on here. First of all, what was the time frame? How long will we be a show? And I've kind of brought Robert along on that. At first, he was like, we got to keep everything short, 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops. So I'm like, ain't no way, cowboy. Ain't no way. I like the longer form. I said, we're going to do a balance. We can do long and short. That's exactly what we did. But see, I come from the old Johnny Carson background. And so the guest coming on and interview the guest and have some, some funny bits and all that. So I've raised with that. It's a part of me. It's in my DNA, so to speak. So I was always going to be about that. But I also know about time frames, and people are busy and they like shorter stuff too. Something hits them really quick, especially the people today. And so that's where our and we do a lot of reels. I mean, we've got it down. I mean, Chris was really pushing at the beginning. Everything needs to be less than 3 minutes. I'm like, sorry, dude. I will be there. I will do all of that. But the longer form, like I'm doing tonight, this is going to be 1 hour because I do have a morning show and I have to sleep. So I will be off by midnight. I do 11, 12 late night. Now, if I was off tomorrow, I might go later. And I probably would. But I'm just getting warmed up sometimes in an hour, just getting warmed up. That's where I really start feeling like I'm really having fun. And we've done 3-hour shows before. We don't expect everybody to sit for 3 hours, but you know what? Hey, Lewis, good to have you in here. But you know what? We do have people that stay for the whole time, and we're appreciative of that. It means a lot to us. It's really actually very touching in our heart. And I also appreciate you saying that. One of the things we said was, and I have a lot of people that ask me about this and kind of still do when they learn I have a podcast because they know my ministry background. And I have had full ministry podcasts. And I may have some friends out there that don't understand, and it's okay. I don't expect them to understand, and I don't mean it in a bad way. I don't care. Live your life, right? So one of the things two things we said was we would be family friendly and we wouldn't be afraid to share our faith. We wasn't going to put together a podcast that was total ministry, but we always said that it had to be a part of it because that's who we are. And so to sit here and not talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, even if others listening don't agree, don't believe in him or anything else, that's okay. Again, it's like anything else. They can go to the next podcast or they can just ignore it or they can just flow with it. And we don't think that everybody that listens believes just like us. In fact, far from it. We talk to people all the time. But if I was listening to somebody else, I wouldn't expect them to hide who they are. And so I wasn't going to dodge that. So we're not going to be afraid of that. And we realized this. One of the reasons in some podcasts really only focus on 1 or 2 streams. And I told Robert, I said, no way. Because I know of ministries that were shut down. They had to start all over because, and I won't name names because we're on them, and there is the chance that in a minute we could be struck. You just don't know. And I know some really good ministries that were shut down, especially around COVID, because they disagreed with some things. And they if they didn't shut them down, what they did was they stopped them from being able to collect money. They stopped their monetization, and they crippled the ministry, and they had to go. That's why some other outlets got bigger at that time. So all of ours, I mean, there's probably there's only about half of the streams we're on carry everything. And then the other half carry everything that's like 30 minutes and down or 5 minutes and down or whatever, just because that's the way they're set up. Some of them are audio only. Most of them are audio and video. And I told Robert, I said, I don't want to start over. I'm just, that's a lot of work. We got to be diversified. We can work to get the stream back up if something happens. And we've never had any problems, but you just have to be on guard. And I said, but we got to be ready for that. So we need to be on ones that we consider safe, and we're there, and we're on ones that have been challenging. And that's actually, if you break it down, we're on probably 2 that are really challenging, can be. We haven't had a problem. And 3 that are safe, or at least, and they weren't at one time, but they are now. At least one of them wasn't. And again, I don't want to name names because I don't want to be picked up, and I just don't want to take the chance. But I do appreciate you saying that. So the very fact that we mentioned God, the very fact that we mentioned Jesus Christ, would probably get on somebody's radar. I don't care because I've preached on streets, and I've went door to door, and I've been outside the country. And, I've been run out of places. I've been screamed at. I've been threatened, and I'm a nice guy. That's all because I'm a Christian. I was ran away from a door in Atlanta. I mean, I didn't run. I didn't run. He ran. And I said, I will not run. I will leave because this is your property. I will not run because what I have is truth. You don't believe in it, that's fine. But give me an opportunity. Don't hit me, because he was running up like he was going to stab us or something. And I said, don't do that. I'm leaving. And if you do that, you're going to be in trouble because I am leaving. But I said, I will not run. I will not run because I serve the Lord Jesus Christ. He followed us all around the neighborhood and screamed. He called all his neighbors, told them to avoid us, and he threatened us in the streets. I said, it's freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want, however you want it, as long as you don't touch us. I said, we're not here to cause harm. We're here on, the goodwill. Okay, you don't believe, that's fine. So why would I go on a podcast and be any different, And I'm not, it was concerning. I won't say it wasn't. I'm a human. But you go in the, when you go in the blessing of God. Yeah, ministry is reaching out to people that normally wouldn't hear or want to hear about our Lord. Amen. This is a platform to reach out to people who wouldn't normally get that 30 minutes of time is chipping away negativity in the world nowadays. Absolutely. And, man, you know how it is. God can use anything. And if you put it out there, it's always out there. I mean, nothing really ever goes away on the internet. But, even if they strike stuff, it's somewhere. And if it's and also, even if it was struck electronically, it's still going to be here. If they heard it, it's here, and it could be in the heart. It's a great story. And by the way, I missed the concert. I should have been paying attention, but there's a Jewish guy who became a believer. His name is Sam Rotman, and I saw him at the Trade Center, and it was a group that I knew that had put this on. And what he does, he's a brilliant pianist. But he plays these brilliant pieces, and he tells his life story in between all the songs. He'll play 2 or 3 songs, and he tells some story. He does that. And you say, A Night with Sam Rotman. And it's amazing. Well, he was in Dalton, and I missed that. Some of my friends went. I hated that I missed that. But the reason I bring up Sam Rotman is he went to the Juilliard School of Music up in Chicago. And here he is, this Jewish man, and he doesn't believe in Jesus as Messiah. And there were 3 Christian guys that were at the same school, very talented people, but they witnessed to him, and he made him mad. And so he would go into the soundproof rooms. This is his story. This is what he said. I'm not making this up. He would go into their soundproof rooms because they had places they could play and practice and record and all these things. He would go in there and lock himself in there, and he would just scream at the top of his lungs. He would be so angry at these 3, and he wanted to get away from them. He was just venting out his anger. This is what he said. He said, even though I closed the door to a soundproof room and I thought I've kept them on the outside, they can't get to me, ha, ha, ha. He said, the problem was I'd already heard it. It was in my head. And he said, then it got in my heart. And he became a believer. So, yeah, you're right. You get an opportunity. It might be 2 seconds before they flip that channel. It might be 5 minutes. It might be the whole time. And you can make a difference. I was preaching a sermon on a Civil War battlefield to a bunch of reenactors. I was scheduled to battle in that thing, and I couldn't. I got into some poison oak really bad, and I was just eat up with it. And it was just too hot, those uniforms. But the guy said, oh, but you got to come. You're our chaplain for the brigade, and you got to come and preach. I said, I'll be there. And here I had, and this represents just like this podcast does. And so I don't remember how many were right in that area, probably about 100. And everybody didn't come. Nobody has to come. But everybody came. Some just came to listen. They didn't believe in nothing. But there were all these different, I would call religious backgrounds. And some that were just pure unbelievers. And I'll never forget, because I preached that day on what it is to be a good soldier for Jesus Christ. I love the tie-in to they were being soldiers and reenacting past wars. And so I did pastor a church in Chickamauga. I was there at New Beginning for 5.5 years. So right there on the corner of Glass Mill and Cove. It was first church I pastored, actually. And then I pastored Christian Home Baptist Church for a couple of years. I'm up on the mountain now. Ashkelon Baptist, but and I grew up in Bethesda Baptist Church out on 151. That's where I grew up. My family started that church way back in 1976, or I think it was, and we built that. We started that church, but yeah, and all these people were listening. And after the sermon, I had people coming up, and they were Calvinists and everything else, and they would say, even though I disagree with you on this point as a Calvinist, however, that was a great sermon. I really appreciate it. It meant a lot to me. We had. It's what we should have now in politics. All these people believe so many different ways, but they come up, shook my hand, and we talked loosely about different beliefs. Nobody was mad. Nobody lost, their lunch because they were, you said something they did. Okay, just listening. But at the end of that, while I was talking to him, the guy says, "Hey, I need you over here." It was a guy we knew, and the guy was in tears, and he said, "I need you, man." He said, I'm an alcoholic. I was raised this, and I need to be saved." And we went down the woods, and he gave his life to the Lord. Now he had some battles after that. He had a lot of demons, but I do believe he gave his heart to the Lord, life to the Lord that day. So it was great. Calvary Way in Chickamauga, I'm very familiar with it. I hope she knows good things. I wasn't always a pastor. I've always thought I was a good guy, but I didn't always live my life according to the scriptures. But well, thank you, Lewis. But I grew up in the Rossville, Fort Oglethorpe area, and I still work in Walker County. I've always pastored in Walker County, and I attended church over at Bethesda. I've done a little bit of everything from lead choir, teach Sunday school, all different levels. I felt like I wasn't prepared for any of that, but you just get in and go. Was an ordained deacon, and God called me to preach, and then I was just happy to support my pastor. And I got called out. It was really amazing how God did that, and it's and I'm a people person. Even though I'm very shy. I've gotten over it to a large degree, but I still have that part of me that is very shy. And go ahead, get some sleep there, Lewis. Good night, Dave. Or good night, Lewis. You're saying good night to me. I'm getting tired myself. But thank you for popping in, John Myers. Okay, awesome. You know what? Thank God for grandfathers and dads and uncles and who serve the Lord. And I think of all those people that came before me. I mentioned my grandfather. My dad was ordained deacon at one time. I had two uncles that were pastors, preachers, evangelists, um, many others that served in many capacities. And I think about those even before them. And they have, I owe not only the Lord, but I owe them to continue to honor our family name, and that we are a family of faith, and to go forward with that, showing my sons, that, and my grandchildren now. And, I hope that one day, I think it means a lot too that I am. And this past year, uh, all three of my granddaughters got saved, and I baptized them, and then really four, because I've been adopted as a grandpa, and so really four grandchildren, and all through Sunday school class, and it was really amazing to watch, and all within a very short amount of time, and it's just a blessing. It really, really is. And so, yeah, I do the Sunday morning in the Word. I don't preach. It's more of a tabletop, coffee and Jesus kind of thing. There's a podcast that does coffee and Jesus. I don't want to take their show name. I don't think they would mind, but they do a good one, and I like listening to it on Sunday mornings. But I just call it Sunday morning in the Word, and there's Word and there's coffee. I will say this: it is funny how God works. There, there is no doubt God works in mysterious ways, and He has a sense of humor. And because He gave us laughter, He obviously has humor in a holy way, in a godly way, and you can have that. And I look back sometimes and I'm thinking, I didn't know it, but God was just preparing me, and He was using my foolishness at the time to prepare me for future things. And I look back and I'm thinking, I wasn't living for the Lord then, but He sure was preparing me. The wrestling, you could mention that. Or I used to go to Atlanta a lot. A lot of people say, Atlanta? Why do you want to go to Atlanta? I think of Biden going, Scranton. It kills me how he says that, but everything's about Scranton. But anyway, I'd go to Atlanta and we'd just hang out. And I learned a lot about the roads and getting around down there. Well, little did I know, years later, I mean, over 2 decades later, I'd be leading missions teams into Atlanta, into Jewish areas, witnessing, giving Bibles out and tracts, going door to door. It just amazed me. I'd be down there and I'd be thinking, 25 years ago, I'm down here visiting places I shouldn't visit, and I wouldn't do anything like criminal or nothing, but sinful, yes. But God used all that, and He said, "You okay? You're not living for me right now, but I'm gonna get all this knowledge, and when you finally turn to me, I'm going to use that." And so I'd be down there, and I'd have preachers and evangelists and missionaries, and I'd be going taking all these back roads and stuff, side roads and everything else. They'd look at me, and they'd be pulling their GPS up, and they'd say, "Well, the GPS says, go here," and I'm like, "No, no, no." And they'd say, "Do you know what you're doing?" I say, "Yeah." They'd say, "You know where you're at?" I said, "Well, I can't tell you the street, but I know this place." And we would pop out and avoid a lot of traffic and get right to the place, and they would look and they'd say, "How do you know that?" I said, "I just spent a lot of time down here, and I learned a lot of back ways and back roads and shortcuts and alleyways, and you're always going to have traffic, but I learned how to get around when streets were shut down and heavy afternoon or heavy morning traffic. I learned how to adapt, and that all came in a great blessing when I was doing ministry down there, and then meeting pastors down there and get connected with them and everything. So it is funny how He works. Do you know that guy? He's a pastor too, and he was into wrestling a lot. And where's he at? Isn't he over there at on Highway 95? He was pastor over there for a while. I think he runs the Real Deal. Wasn't he in wrestling at one time? What is his name? I know his name. Somebody that's local would remember that. I've never met him, but I've seen him on TV many times. And I like listening to him. He just has a way about him. But I'm pretty sure he was in wrestling at one time. I've just met so many people, and God takes the thing that they did, and He uses that to reach people. And that's what I was going to say, several minutes ago, is the podcast is a way to connect with people. And just when you think you have nothing in common with somebody that says, "Well, I'm from Germany or something," and we have that happen, then you'll start talking, and you'll go, "Oh, okay," and you just have this great conversation, and you're like, "Wow, it's a small world," and it amazes me. It always amazes me, and it's just amazing the stories that we're going to find out one day in heaven, when we find out all the little things that we thought were insignificant that God used in a great way to reach one person or hundreds and even thousands of people. I always tell a story. I was in a missions conference up in Illinois, I think it was, and I can't never remember the guy's name. Well, actually, I don't think they might have used his name, but really they called him everybody knew him as the little old man. I may say the street wrong, but it was in Australia. It was Brighton Street or something like that. And they shared this video of this guy, and this guy would go downtown. He's a preacher to my knowledge, and I think he just loved the Lord. He would go down every day, and he would stand in the doorway, which kind of went recessed in, and he had tracts in his hand, and he'd see people coming and step out in front of him. He'd say, "Do you know the Lord Jesus Christ, as your Savior," or something like that. And he would try to get him to take a tract. And sometimes he got to talk to him. Many times he didn't. Many times they just take the tract and move on just to be nice. Some threw it away. Some kept it. Well, and I wish I had that video. It's a great video. But basically, years and years later, all these people had all these stories that had visited that street. It was a tourist area, I've done some of that. It's great. You meet the world. So all these people had traveled around the world to this touristy area, and here's this guy, and he steps out, and everybody had this story. They say, well, how did you become a Christian? And time after time, these people would meet each other, and they'd say, well, there was this little old man down on, and I'm sure I'm saying the wrong name on the street, but Brighton Street, we'll just use that name. And they would say, hey, that's how I got saved. I was down there in some year, and there's a little short guy and thin. They say, yeah, that's the guy. And they tried to quantify how many this day. Of course, there's no way to know, only God does. But they tried to figure out how many people, men and women and kids that he had led to the Lord. They said at least 40,000 people, if I remember right. And it may be a lot more than that, but I think it was at least 40,000 people. And it was, nobody knew that except him and the Lord. He didn't put his name in lights. He was never on a podcast. He didn't have business cards. There was no news program down there of anybody doing, a story on him. But this guy was a warrior for Jesus. And I love that kind of stuff. I was in Pigeon Forge once. My granddaughter lives with me. She was just a little bitty thing then. Hadn't been with me about 2-3 years at that time. And we were at this. I was giving tracts out as I was up there, vacationing. I was doing some ministry too, and there's a couple of them, but there was not the big flea market, but there was another one there down just down the road. Well, actually, the other one's just down the road, but it's the one not on the interstate, the one just down from the Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And we went in there, and I gave out some tracts. My granddaughter was giving out some too, but I saw this guy, and he looked like he was kind of all crippled up. He was selling stuff, and he had a Vietnam hat on, like for being a veteran. And he had a hard look, a hard look. Don't tell him what this man had been through. And I said, Kaylee, I said, because up to that time, I hadn't had her approach, and she was just a little girl. I said, I need you to do something. I said, I need you to step up, and I want you to get, I said, you're going to lead us down. She was all into it. She was like, yeah, Papa, I'm ready to go. What do you want me to do? I said, that guy said, I think he's in a wheelchair. I said, the guy in the wheelchair. And I said, I want you to go down there and I want you to ask the man if he will, ask to say, how you doing, sir? And ask the man if he will take the tract and read it. And I said, if he says no, just say, thank you, sir, and turn around. I said, I'm going to let you handle this. I'm not going to walk right up with you because I felt like if I went up, he would reject. I was far and I was close enough that if anything happened, I was there, but I was several feet back. And she said, I'm ready to go. And we went down through there, and it was kind of the way his thing was set up. You had to walk by a lot of his stuff. He was kind of, I mean, 50, 60 feet off of the start of where all his stuff was. And he was back near like a little camper or something. He was sitting there, and I watched her, and here she goes. She's all dressed real cute, had her hair up in a ponytail, a little dress, and she goes down there, and I could hear her. She said, excuse me, sir. She said, would you take this tract and read it? And she's holding it out, and the guy, he looked at her, and he had a hard look. And he looked at me, and I know he was thinking, I don't want to take that tract. But he looked back down at her, and just the faintest of a smile came across his corner of his mouth. And she's just holding out that sweet little face, just that Jesus shining through her. And he says, I'll take it. And I think if I remember right, she even said, and you got to read it. And he said, I'll read it too, sweetheart. And he took it, and she came back to me, gave me a big old high five. He did it. She was just excited. We turned to walk away, and I looked back, and he was reading the tract. I'd love to meet that guy in heaven one day. I would love to just finish that story. Some people I can't reach, but you can, or your wife can, or my granddaughter can. And we work together in that, and that's what's great about it. Well, this has been a great hour, and I hope that somebody got something out of it. We've had a few people in here listening tonight, and the good thing is this will be out on all of our streams, and who knows going to listen to it. Thank you for coming in. It was nice to talk and learn some more about you. Great ideas. We take all those ideas to heart. And matter of fact, my news show, one lady come in here from Texas one night said, you should call yourself Christian and conservative. You would really make an impact, and it was not the focus of of saying that about our name, Southern Fried Podcast. But I got to thinking, I said, that's a great idea for a news show. And so I call it that, the SFP News Desk, Christian and Conservative News. And I was a little afraid at first when I first started it, because I didn't want to get caught up into all the drama and stuff between whatever groups they are. And but at the end of the day, I just said, just go for it. It'll be okay. I recorded them at first. I think my first one I recorded, but they're live now. So anyway, my voice is kind of going out. I think it's pollen or something. So I'm sorry it doesn't sound the best. But thanks to all of you. Have a great night. God bless. We'll be up early in the morning for the morning show. And be looking for some MAGA Minutes to come out and morning devotion tomorrow night. We do have Three Ravens Publishing be coming in talking about some of their sci-fi books and stuff. And they're a hoot. It's really comedy. It's a lot of them are just funny, and I can't wait to. One of them is got an Elvis theme or something. I want to read it. I think it'd be a hoot. But then Friday night on Front Porch Talking, we'll have Greg Smith. He has his own YouTube channel called Backwoods Cryptids. We've touched paths, crossed paths a couple of times. He's going to come on and we're going to let him share his story and talk about hunting for Bigfoot, locally, Pigeon Mountain. So we won't ask him for his spots. It's kind of like a fisherman and a hunter or something, but if he wants to cover it, he can. But we'll see you then. God bless. Have a great night. And, if I don't see you here on this earth, I'll see you in heaven. Take care. Let me set this outro music. Robert, get on to me, because he forgets sometimes. If I do it, he will give me a hard time.
Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show.